Hey guys, Blue here, and I'm bringing you a couple updated decks. So it's been a little over a year since Delta and I retired from our channel, and we left off with the potential of releasing something here or there if we had the time and we were interested enough. We weren't going to do all kinds of updates, but we did release some new decks that we had been really hoping for. Last winter, and now over the summer, just a couple of decks that we tweaked and we want to release updates for. Most because even though they're just updates, they're updates of decks that we weren't really satisfied with. We had a deck for these characters and it worked okay, but now with these updates, the decks are going to perform, even if it's a little bit better, it's better enough that we like the decks now with this new update. So I'll get to the other ones, in the videos coming after this one. It's just going to be a short release, a couple deck profiles together, and that's going to be it. There won't be any duels, won't be much else, just me doing some deck profiles for you guys. But we're very happy with these revisions. So first up, obviously, is Duke's deck. This is a big one because Delta and I both love the character. He's incredibly cool, and his story of, a very short time as an antagonist and then becoming, a protagonist when he shows up in Battle City to bail them out from their hunters, and that he sticks along for like the rest of the series, more or less. So, Duke's a very cool character. Also, the Dungeon Dice Monsters, he's also a game creator, so he does have, a little bit of a backing to him. He doesn't just play cards, he made a whole dice game. So, the previous version we had of this deck was okay, but it combined his Pharaoh Servant cards, from the duel with Joey, cards that were like Dungeon Dice Monster cards, and stuff that we saw actually from the virtual world. So his deck was a real mix of things, all muddled up, and we kind of called it virtual world, even though it really was a mix, but we had it with the virtual world because that's when we really saw him duel. Because he played against Joey, but he used booster pack cards. He did Dice Monsters against Yugi, so, the problem was, though, that he just was missing so much of his actual cards, like Orgoth. We gave him Buster Blader because they were both big warrior dudes. It's kind of a poor substitution, but it was the best we can come up with because we wanted to produce a Duke deck because he was a popular character. We had requests for it, but he lacked a lot of substance, so we gave him substance. But even the version that we put out wasn't too great. It was inconsistent, but the version before that we were testing and working with was so poor it couldn't get any ground. So we really reworked numbers, and they look kind of odd with a lot of the Pharaoh Servant cards in his other deck, but that's what kind of helped get him someplace. Prior to that, the deck really could not stand on its own. So, that like I said, that was something that nobody saw. That was us testing the deck. When we finally got a version we liked, that's the one that we put up. But even still, it's kind of not really liked it that much, but just enough to produce the deck. Anyway, so I'm going to get to the deck now because I know I've been talking for a little while. But this deck definitely feels much more like Duke's deck. The biggest issue for us was making sure it felt like Duke, but it wasn't just, full of dice cards. Because obviously Duke's theme is dice, but we didn't want to throw in all kinds of dice cards, especially like Skull Dice, Graceful Dice, that are like great dice cards, but they're also signature Joey cards. So, what we have now, we like a lot with them. This is like, if this is our last version of a Duke deck, it's totally fine. So, 3 Orgoth, to no surprise. Konami gave him an effect. He didn't have it in the anime, and his effect makes him much better. And it's great to see that because Duke's deck could use still help. So having the monster and having the abilities that Orgoth does really help amp it up. 3 Strike Ninja. So Strike Ninja was his deck master, and the one thing with this deck too was a lot of the characters that we had for the virtual world that weren't some of the main characters. So it wasn't Yugi, wasn't Kaiba, wasn't Joey. We tried to incorporate their deck master effects. We did the best we could with Duke. I'll get to that later. It's kind of an interesting choice, but it's something. But we have his deck master, and we have something that kind of fills the void of Deckmaster effect, but those helped a lot of the other characters, obviously the big five, and then like Taya, Serenity, that all helps their decks, work a little bit faster. 2 battle locks. 3 Dark Assailant. So a lot of these monsters he played as Blended Dice monsters, and then they were also, dual monsters. So Ryukishin. But the deck is definitely void of all the cards he pulled from the Pharaoh Servant. Well, in the anime it was something different, I believe, but it was equivalent to Pharaoh Servants. So it was Spike Bot, it was Radius, it was Fairy Meteor Crush. All those cards using into it. So we took all that Michizuri. And the deck still has some cards we threw in, but it feels it's nicer. I like it a lot better. So that's it for the monsters. So overall the monster lineup's not super impressive. The spells and traps back it a bit. I'm like, this deck's not like 100% like, one of the more aggressive decks we have. But as far as character decks go, it's a nice in between. It now kind of went from like, if you want to scale at 110, I'd put it at a 3 earlier. Now the revised version, I'd call it a comfortable 6 or 7. Something that's more with a lot of the decks. It's not like Crystal Beast that's really potent, and it's not like some of the ones that just win once in a while. So 2 costs down. Really the only thing there for that is Orgoth, but this deck, between his own effect and other cards here, is designed to get Orgoth out quickly, because that is Duke's trump, and that is what's gonna the deck's gonna use to win games. 2 Dice Spoon. 3 Dimension Hole. 1 Reborn. 2 Pogreed. So that utility shows up in the deck as well. And a lot of our characters, so many characters played Pogreed that the way we just built anime decks, we just threw them into almost everybody's deck. It made the decks work faster, and it just was such a common card in the anime. I didn't see why not. It's not like Yugi's Mirror Force, which so few characters actually had that we didn't want to put those everywhere, but Pogreed, sure. Summon Dice. Yeah, it was really awesome that Duke got just a few cards printed. And it's enough that it kind of, it added enough that we also were able to add more. And like I said, the deck is just cooler. So that's it for the spells. And really rolling down to the traps. And there's 3 different kinds. So 3 dice reroll. Obviously an important card because he runs a lot of dice cards, and dice reroll is essential. It's also kind of funny though, because since he's a main character, Yugi or whoever, he would often get the roll he needed. Joey very often conveniently got the right die roll for his Graceful Skull dice. So it's like our version of plot armor. He gets a second chance he needs to be a protagonist character. Alright, so next up is our substitution versus Deckmaster. I use that term lightly, substitution, because there's no card in the game that, would fit right into this deck and lets you use an opponent's set card. There are several cards which let you use opponent's cards or effects, but not in the way that Strike Ninja's Deckmaster effect works. So we went with something that we felt worked well enough. I'm not saying that this card is, an exact replacement or a duplicate, or, even something that's like really convincing for it, but it fills the gap enough. We didn't throw the option that we had, and that's Mystical Ref Panel. So I don't know, kind of an odd choice. The idea was that obviously Mystical Ref Panel lets you use the effect of a card your opponent plays, assuming that the effect can apply to you. So it's not unlike an opponent's card. The difference is your opponent has to play this card. You can't take a set card that they have, which could be Mirror Force that you may want to have, or even could have been a ref panel. Other options we thought about were Grave Robber, Double Spell, all kinds of cards that will let you take your opponent's card. Those took it from the graveyard. This takes it from the opponent playing it. As I said, it's something that we liked that kind of, gives Duke a little bit of it because, it would mean you get to use the effect instead of your opponent. So if they play like a Pog Read, you're negating their Pog Read, then you're getting an extra one. If for some reason you loved our Duke deck, but you cannot stand the idea of this or any of the other things that, I happen to say that we had ruled out, you could always replace it with Upstart Goblin. 3 Upstart Goblins kind of gives you a 37 card deck, but still a 40 card limit because they just replace themselves. So anyway, so Mystic Ref panel was that, we're not like in love with it, but we liked it enough that we felt negate attack finishes up as a little bit of defense. So this is our updated Duke deck. And like I said, it's been revised enough now that it uses a lot of his own cards that he actually played, war cards that we felt fit in seamlessly. We pulled out all the Fair Reserve and Booster Pack cards because we did not like those because those really weren't his. He played those, but it wasn't actually his deck. He opened some Booster Packs. So Joey, they dueled. Duke won. This is definitely through and through our Duke Devlin deck. Definitely lumped into the virtual world to really now round out that whole story arc. We have all the decks from it for all the characters. And, when you play them together, it's kind of a fun little difference from the other versions of some of the characters like Yugi, kind of Joey. All right, so stay tuned for a few more of these updated deck profiles. But, it's great to be talking to you guys again. And I'll see you in the next video.